Iron, I just made you host, so you should be able to run everything.
Awesome. Does that mean that it's all being recorded, right?
Yeah,
Automatically?
it's
Okay.
being recorded. Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
All right. See
And
you later.
who else is in their group, Aisha?
Ming Wan,
Sasha.
Sasha, and Jing, I guess.
You guys know where they are?
Let me send them a snack message.
They might have gotten lost in the transition. Okay. There's the rest of them. Okay. So Ingrid, you're in China now? You had to go back?
Yeah, I'm currently in China. It's like 2 a.m. here.
Oh, wow.
Thanks for joining.
That's when the brain works best, apparently. According to some.
I'm currently in the quarantine hotel, so the Wi-Fi connection and also my VPN is not like pretty unstable here. If I like, if you don't see my screen or whatever moving, I would just rejoin the meeting.
Okay. All right, no worries with that. Okay, now question for Jonathan. Are we waiting for Jennifer?
Okay. It would help.
It would probably help. Otherwise, we'll just ask each other questions.
I just texted Aisha to see if I can get her Jennifer's text number.
Okay.
Jonathan, I have a question. The 30-second pitch you want us to do next week, is that for the case study group that we're
Yeah,
in?
for the company you're about to talk to.
Okay.
It'll because hopefully by the end of doing the case study, you guys will be pretty versed in that company.
So we are pitching on their behalf as if we are in the company.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
You would be like, "Hi, I'm Iron CEO of EYP," and right.
Okay.
Let's see how I find her. Where is she though? Oh, she's, you know what? I'm going to pop out and go into the other one and see if I can find her. Hold on.
Okay.
What was the question we were start with? I see a lot of questions on the Google Docs.
It's a good question. Well,
Sorry, what did you say, Ingrid?
Oh, I say like, what are the questions that we want to start with? Because there are a round of questions we have on the Google Doc.
Well, I see we have.
I think maybe we could start with like, just like the simple questions like, what was your motivation for starting a company? Or what problem are you trying to solve? Sorry, am I cutting someone off?
No, it's okay, Sasha. I just had a question that we seem to have like 2 big lists of questions. The first one is under the interview question section, and there is also another list on suggested interview questions. And the suggested interview question seems like more like from simple to more complex ones?
I would recommend if we don't have too much time, what we really want out of this is maybe some numbers, like metrics. When we build a case study, we're gonna want to show, defend whatever claims we make by showing numbers, supporting it with evidence. Numbers are, as you guys all saw, they have almost no numbers on their website. It's very hard to find anything. That I think is and it's a good reason. Private companies don't like giving out that kind of info. It's proprietary. They don't know what competitors might do with it. So I feel like this private meeting is a good chance to get all of those: revenue, growth percentages, how much investments have you taken, how much equity have you given away? A lot of questions along those lines.
Yeah, I think so. But oh, Jonathan's here.
Did she show up? All right, Aisha said she was just showing up. Of course, they just started blowing with the leaf blower right outside my window as soon as the recording turns on.
Jonathan, can we ask questions about like private, like for private numbers, revenue?
Yeah, you can
Is that
ask
okay?
anything you want. I mean, if they say no, they'll say no. But
Okay.
ask whatever you want. All right, Jennifer, the new link is asking for a passcode.
Interesting. You know, this sucks. I wouldn't have that. Aisha would, as the creator.
Yeah, I'm talking. I'm texting Aisha.
Okay. Because she has a non-NYU email.
Now, if I just send her this invite, would that help? Oh, there's Aisha. Hey,
Is Jennifer missing?
yes, she just texted that she says she needs a passcode.
Oh, that's weird. New link is asking for password.
And just to the rest of our group, I think our document is pretty good. It's pretty straightforward, like in terms of how we structured it, and one question after another. The notes on the company, that those little bullet points we have at the top, those were just kind of some questions that I wanted to confirm. So we think this is what we found and discovered. We just wanted to run it by you, Jennifer, and see if that's right.
Yeah, we need to double check on that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, you just mentioned about like the numbers are important, right? I feel like we can also ask for investor deck and sales deck.
Yeah.
Especially if they have like an up-to-date version of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She can even
good idea.
just screen share it with us if she has it on hand.
Or do it as a follow-up. Remember, you want to try to get as much on camera right now as you can.
Right. I think screen share would be saved, right, under the recording.
Yeah, but I mean, it's probably better for you to get the actual document so that you can.
All right.
You know, not as a video, but as a doc.
Okay.
Can we actually record the interview?
Oh,
It's
here's
actually
Jennifer.
automatically being recorded in the upper. Oh, here she is.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I understand from Aisha, it's going to be recorded in all modes. So you'll be able to have speaker mode and everything else.
Mhm.
All right, now hey,
How are you?
hey, how
Hi
are
there.
you?
Sorry to keep you all waiting. I was missing a passcode.
Yeah, no, it's
Great to see you, Jonathan.
great to see you. Let me get you up to speed because we got limited time.
Yep.
So you've got a team from our class. They are all master's students in a program called Digital Media and Design for Learning. So they are future instructional designers or ed tech entrepreneurs or something in the field. So they will be using the content from your Start Ed. They have the materials from your Start Ed session, and then they'll be asking you questions and recording today to create a case study on your company, which will be one of the final projects for the class. And your audio and video look good to me.
Wonderful.
So unless you have any questions for me, I'm going to jump to the background.
No, I think I'm great. I just want to share my appreciation with you again, because your conversations have been game changing for our business. So you guys are all very lucky to be working with Jonathan.
Oh, cool. Well, enjoy. Have a good time. I'll be popping in and out of. There are 3 different companies doing this right now.
Awesome.
All right. Cheers.
Great. Great to meet you all. Hi.
Hi, nice to meet
Hi,
you.
how are you?
Hi,
Hi.
nice to meet you all. I'm so excited you're becoming instructional designers. That's amazing, and ed tech entrepreneurs. I have a billion questions, but I'm going to let you lead because I'll take up too much time asking you a million things.
Okay.
Tell me what I can share and how I can what I can be most helpful with. I appreciate the time that you're all spending on this project and the work that you're going to put into our business as well. It's very helpful for us at the same time.
So for us, we are going to be kind of dissecting your company.
Beautiful.
And yeah, and just trying to plug in a couple of holes here and there that we don't have.
Okay.
Information-wise. I believe Sasha wanted to get the ball rolling by starting off with a bit of a pitch. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, wait. Sorry, Iron. I think you were confused. I actually wanted to ask you.
Oh, to me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I actually wanted to ask you, Jennifer, if you can start off with like a 30-second pitch about your company.
Sure. Sure. So we started EYP Ventures, which stands for Exploring Your Potential, to help the really millions of young people all over the world struggling to find their path in life. And as I traveled the world, I went to 50 countries and I worked with tens of thousands of young people. And I found that sometimes simple conversations and simple exposures would change everything for the trajectory of someone's life, being aware of what's possible, seeing themselves in that context. And so we built Exploring Your Potential with Bloomberg originally. And it's an online learning platform that's academically rigorous enough for a 4-credit college class, but now it's being adopted in the K-12 systems as young as 7th grade. And my goal is to create a new gold standard for how we train young people for the world of work.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So we do have some like metrics questions
Sure.
about numbers and things like that. So we'll start off with some other questions first, but we just wanted to ask if you'd be comfortable sharing some numbers down the line.
Yeah, I can share. Yeah, I'll do my best. I do have ADD, I'll be honest. And so I have to cross-reference things sometimes just so I don't mix up numbers. But absolutely, I can totally help. What are you looking to get? I don't know what angle you're looking at.
Right. I think the first artifact we'd be looking for is there an updated pitch deck by any chance?
There is. It's not updated as of this week, but we're updating it this week because I have investors asking for it as of this week. Do you want me to pull that right now? Let me see if I can grab that. Let me see what our latest is right now. I'm just pulling up Founders Suite, which I found to be an excellent. I have a one sheet which I could share too. This is, oh, do you want me to share screen. Am I allowed to do that?
Sure. Let me give you the. Okay, I think you should be able to do it.
I don't know if this would be helpful to you, but this is our one sheet. And it explains like the company profile, a summary, the solution, target market, advisors, all that. So these numbers are updated beyond where the current deck is right now. But I'm going to give you a link to the deck just so you have that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for
Okay.
that.
Apologies. Yeah, it's amazing how fast time moves, and you pitch at these competitions and then you go build your business and then you come back and have to reposition everything again. So any other questions while I'm pulling this up?
Yes, just there's a couple things that we did before this meeting just to get a good sense of what it is. So maybe a couple things just to confirm what UIP is and what it does.
Okay.
So what we were able to gather so far is it is a in short, it is a career prep company. I'm not sure if that's completely
We call
right.
it workforce readiness. It's
Workforce.
not just about the career, it's about the life that you're going to build for yourself, which includes the career.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Workforce readiness. And we originally guessed that this company was designed to either replace or supplement a school's career guidance office.
Supplement.
Supplement.
Augment, supplement. We're not trying to replace career centers. I think the one-on-one attention you can get from career centers is game changing. The challenge is that career centers spend so much time on the ABCs and on resume writing and very, very basic skills. And I feel if a young person can go through exploring your potential and then go talk to career services, they ask much more targeted, specific questions about their specific path. That makes the experience for the student and for the career center infinitely more enjoyable and productive. But there's just a cookie cutter way to teach career that tends to be used with a lot of the career services, and they're all based on working for companies. They never talk about entrepreneurship. They never talk about social impact. So there are just so many gaps. So I want to make sure that the time spent with advisors, which is painfully small for the average student, is spent on very targeted conversations and not the ABCs.
Okay.
And most students have no idea where they want to go or what they want to do or what their possibilities are. So we can race them through a process to do that in a much more organic, comfortable, safe space online. So they don't feel that pressure of having to have all these answers walking into a big office in a half an hour time slot or an hour time slot.
Right.
You know, one thing I'll just mention, we started this at the University of Central Florida. The Dean of Business said, we have 8,000 business school students and 8 career counselors.
Not a good ratio.
And they spend 25% of their time counseling. So that's 2 people in charge of the career paths of 8,000 students effectively. That's why we started this, to be scalable.
Okay.
And what is the average age of the students in the program?
Typically it's 18 to 22, I would say. Now it's getting lower. We're getting down into the 15, 16 age.
Okay. And I also read somewhere where you guys serve people in like underserved communities.
Very much.
So how do you reach out to those communities or those people?
So I have a really long, I'm basically the head of sales still for the company. And I have a long history of working with youth serving organizations, from Junior Achievements globally to NIFTY, the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship. They trained 500,000 underserved kids how to build entrepreneurial ventures. And I was actively involved on the boards. I built curriculum for them. We've also worked with Youth Build and Job Corps, which are other very significant programs that help students who are in very, fragile situations get into the system, whether it's learning about work or learning about school or certifications. And so I've spent about 30 years basically working on youth employment, and a good majority of that was working specifically with underserved communities.
Nice.
So I have a lot of history and relationships in the field. And so they were more likely to, you know, to bring us in and try. And my relationships are 20-year relationships with many of the leaders. So
Is your was your focus, maybe it's shifted now, but was it for to sell primarily to career centers, the university departments?
no, I actually, I knew early on we did not want to sell to career centers. Career centers are very difficult to work with. They're wonderful people, but they're usually siloed on campus, and they do not have access to most students. It's very optional whether a student goes to a career center or not. And what we found was that students will rarely do the work on their own to become career ready. They need to have it mandated. And so basically what we found is that if we could embed our curriculum into the curriculum and make it part of the must-have, that was better for us as a business. It was better for the school. The outcomes were better. And as schools started to introduce us, they started in the business schools. And then they started bringing us younger and younger to first year and first generation and transfer students. And we had such huge success because these transfer students, they would come to me and they'd literally cry and shake and say, no one's ever told me I could do what I wanted to do before. And so they realized when we were that first touch point, we gave them permission to go do the things they wanted to do in the world. And the earlier schools can give that to their students, the better, because it changes everything.
So how would this look? So if I'm a student, I just started my freshman year. How would this look exactly? Who is introducing this to me? How does this enter my journey?
So right now, our sweet spot is we're finding is student success programs and first year initiatives. So any programs that are focused on the whole student, the academic success of the student, the engagement of the student, and as you know, those rates drop off. They drop out of school very fast in that first year or so. So when they can put us in the very beginning, especially as they start to talk about majors and pathways within college, we're very, very helpful because students will often change their major or pathway from our programs. So, you know, when they realize they can do anything, they start to want to do anything. And so the schools realize don't put it so late because then they don't have time to act. And it's also very expensive. If students are on, you know, if there's any financial aid involved, I've heard numbers that it costs a school up to $14,000 for a student who transfers from one major to another. So that's a very significant cost. And oftentimes that leads to dropping out too, because if they can't transfer successfully or it takes too long, it extends graduation time and frustration grows fast.
Okay. Awesome. And so I guess the last thing to just confirm is the product here that EYP has is when it's boiled down, it is a 4-module online course.
It's actually there's a college edition, and now we're working on the K-12 edition. So I need instructional designers, by the way. But the college edition is 4 courses with 6 modules each. They're 24 modules in total. And you can see, I think the brochure I sent has a beautiful list of that table of contents where you can see the whole narrative flow of everything. What happens is sometimes some schools will say everyone has to take this on their own time and they have to take it before they go to an apprenticeship program or get into an internship program or before they graduate. So they'll make it a mandatory course and then they just do it and turn it in. In other places, it'll be embedded into the curriculum at different levels. And sometimes they'll use one course per semester or per year. Some students will take it across like 3 years of school. So we kept it very flexible in the beginning because we wanted to see how it best served the schools. And what we're starting to see now is that my goal is to have it as a full 4-credit course in college that's taken early, or 2 2-credit courses, so that it completely reframes how you engage with the world and your own path. But as you know, you're all studying instructional design, it sounds like. There's so many different ways to frame it. What I'm hearing, I'm working closely with one of the heads of education for Apple, and she's a PhD instructional designer. And she said, don't worry, you guys have so much content and the content's outstanding. So you can frame it and flow it in so many different ways. But that's actually been a challenge for us too, because it's harder for me to say, this is how to use it, this is what it is. We've tried to co-create models with our schools, but it also plays against us because it makes us look like an earlier stage company than we kind of are.
Okay. And you mentioned that you're exploring the K through 12 space.
Yes.
Did you think that maybe colleges, maybe it might help benefit if learners learn even earlier than college?
The deans of colleges have been asking us to put it into high school. They said, especially with students who are first generation students, they're struggling once they hit college. And the colleges have to spend a lot of extra time to try to make sure that they have the resources that they need. And sometimes there's social, I mean, all students are struggling with social emotional learning. They're all challenged with getting into a new environment and how to engage and how to use the resources. But the deans were saying, if you can get this into high school and students come in with an idea of where they want to go, what they want to study, they know who they are, they're clear about introducing themselves, they'll rocket through that first year so much faster, and we can get down to the business of learning faster. So it was deans of schools that asked us to go into high schools. And then when we started to look at high schools, we identified the CTE programs as perfect beyond words for us. And without making any effort, we immediately aligned with all the top standards of a high quality CTE curriculum.
So do you have certain states in mind where you're going to start?
Yeah, we've started in California with K-12.
Okay.
We have districts in other states asking to work with us right now, but frankly, we haven't worked with districts yet. So looking at how we scale what we do to a district with 30 or 50 schools, we're taking our time right now to make sure we really understand what that means.
So it would be the same approach, some kind of mandatory learning like semester or module for high school at the high school level as well.
What we've done with the high school is we broke everything into 20-minute lessons. So they're using them in advisory and elective classes. And that's a great safe space where students are, where they have some extra room in the curriculum. The advisors that tend to be teaching those are looking for, easy solutions that they can implement pretty quickly, but things that are going to create inspiring conversations and in engagement, because the kids are stressed out, the teachers are stressed out, and no one wants to adopt anything new or a new platform or anything. So we're trying to make it as seamless and accessible to them, but immediately valuable.
Oh, that's good. I grew up in New York, and I know New York schools would definitely benefit. I went to a science-based school, but in terms of like the career center and the guidance counselors were not that great. So I feel like New York City schools will definitely benefit from something like this.
Oh, thank you. I grew up in New York City, so I would love nothing more than to go into New York City schools. It's one of the other challenges for us is when we went into K-12, we specifically targeted charter schools because we could get adoption faster. An executive director could make a decision and you were done. We were going to wait about a year to go after public school systems, and before we even knew it, LAUSD came to us. And so we wound up working with LAUSD in our first few months of being in K-12, and we've been co-creating with them and building other, programs with them, and they love us now. And now the superintendents are showing up at our events and speaking on our behalf and talking about how much they love that students are learning these things. So it's been an interesting road to navigate K-12. And thank you for that comment. I would love to start sweeping across districts. But we need help. We need help as an organization to really understand how to make sure we're retrofitting the content in the right way. Like, does it need to be in Google Classroom versus Moodle? What are we integrating to? What kind of tools do the teachers need? We rapidly translated into Spanish the other week because we needed our first 9-week sequence to be Spanish accessible as well. So we're moving fast in K-12, but we're also seeing enormous demand, enormous opportunity. And frankly, we come to the CTE conversation with background and experience that very few people have. So I think we're able to connect the dots and see what best practices can look like quickly, but we need more help from trained academics to make sure that we're addressing their needs, very tactically.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I think you're filling a very interesting gap between first of all, between college and the workforce. You, I think, very aptly named it workforce readiness. But then between high school, K through 12, and college, you have college readiness, which is a different thing, but still just as important, and makes it very seamless. Did you have any plans for anything earlier than that? Anything earlier than high school?
Maybe when we're better funded and we have more traction and we've proved out our model. I mean, I would love to play with kids and the things they want to do with their lives. I mean, I often see that kids have evidence of things that they really are passionate about very early on. And sometimes if you ask adults all the time where they came up with the idea for what they wanted to do, they'll find some trace back to when they were 5 or 7. Like I was packing for fun, I was pretending to travel when I was a kid, and now I've been to 50 countries, so you can see evidence of what kids want to do very early, but oftentimes people are saying, no, you can't play video games for a living. No, you can't be in a band for a living, but they could be a designer of video games. They could be a music producer. They could be a sound engineer. And so I'm always trying to bring possibilities in to them, because those early ideas are just early manifestations. And none of us are really trained to identify those and all the range of things that they can do. But it's just as big of a problem for little kids as it is for adults. When I found entrepreneurship, I stopped being bullied because I realized I could build things, I could own things, and no one understood me, so they'd left me alone. But that's just, so I think there's more awareness. Kids are so smart these days. And I think they're hungry to do and build and create. And let's get them that exposure so they can go do things. Let's go build companies and build, water filtration systems and all different things when you're 7 or 12. We can do that, but I can't address, as a CEO, I can't responsibly address that right now. I'm also probably going to hit international before I go that young.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. I think working in private schools, there's a difference between like having kids explore different careers and letting them explore their independence and figure out what they want, versus public schools or charter schools. It's a little bit more restricted, right? So having that program in a public school or a charter school would be more beneficial because they don't have that privilege.
Yes.
That private school students have.
Yes, agree 1,000%. But what that requires is that I need experts like you all to help us connect the dots, make sure that we're in alignment with the standards, we're in alignment with the efficacy, that all those details are there. The tools are scalable, they're on the right platforms, that we align with the right funding sources. So it's more complicated to work with schools that are public and the charter schools, but private schools, frankly, if I could find someone to sell into private schools, I would have them do it just to build more revenue for the company very quickly, because those kids, even kids of billionaires, don't know what to do with their lives. It's not to say they have the greatest need, not at all, but I know they could pick up our program and run quickly. That would help us as a business allocate more money to serve underserved youth. I have to pay for so many of the programs we do. The more disadvantaged the population, the more burden it puts on us to pay for the resources, to wait to be paid, to not know if we're going to be paid. It's challenging and it's hard. I would be running all across Africa right now if I had an extra $60,000 last month. I could have trained 200,000 young Africans in all 54 countries with our program. I had an opportunity, but they wouldn't pay us to do it. They wanted to pilot, and to pilot it, I have to spend the money to do it. So it's one of the biggest challenges is just really identifying your market, not just who wants to spend the money, but who you truly want to serve, and finding the best way to, support the business as you do that. and also your investors who want to see constant growth. That's another thing. This is a great question for Jonathan that I would love to ask. Being a social impact entrepreneur working in the underserved communities, I'm not maximizing my revenue every single quarter. I'm not hammering at these ramps. I have huge adoption opportunities, but I'm getting discounted as a high growth business because I'm working on effective models in these markets.
Well, here's Jonathan. Speak of the
Perfect
devil.
timing.
Yeah, I know you guys have other questions too. We could talk forever on this, but
It's a great question. I just wanted to put in my thoughts to what you're saying, which is it brings up that old mantra: you can't help others until you help yourself first, right? And you can't draw from an empty well. These are other similar sayings, and the social mission is very worthwhile, of course. However, you can't take the hands off the steering wheel of driving the business, like the revenue and bringing
I know.
returns to investors, right?
Right. But it pains me. That's what keeps me up at night, that
Right.
every semester kids that I know of are going through school without understanding what's possible for them in their life. They're at risk of homelessness, of dropping out of school, of taking jobs that are going to be a fraction of what they could be earning in their lifetime. Like that pains me on a daily basis. So I hear you, and I know I should go just make a bunch of money and then go back. I have never been one who has been able to not make impact when I can. But it comes at a cost.
Right.
For the rest of the group, I think we did cover a lot of kind of introductory questions that we had for her, and I was going to see if we can move into more of the business-sided questions, unless anyone else had any further questions, kind of overall about
No,
the
'cause
company.
yeah, no, because I feel like you covered a lot
Okay.
in our discussions. Yeah, so that was great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Also
All
with the
right.
investors, you have like 4 minutes to tell them what you're doing. And so a lot of this
Yeah.
backstory very rarely comes out.
Okay. Well, actually, we did want to talk about the investors. Maybe we can start there. What does your investment landscape look like currently? How many investors do you have? How much have you raised? What round are you at? Things like that.
So we set up EYP Ventures in October of 18. We built the product before we set up the company under my last company, which was YNS Media, Young and Successful Media. We had previously, built an online learning platform. No, we had built an online social network, a professional social network for young people. And so we acquired the IP, set up a brand new company specifically to scale Exploring Your Potential. That was in October of 18. We had 2 angel investors that had convertible notes that converted at our first equity round. We did that first equity round with the venture capitalists out of Copenhagen. And they gave us 500,000 at a 6 million valuation as part of our Series Seed.
So this is a seed round, not pre-seed.
It was a seed round. It was a Series Seed. So it was SEC filed and the full equity structure was built out. And so we had a little angel to get going. We had a partnership that helped us pay for the product to be built. And then a venture capitalist wanted to invest. We needed a clean cap table and a new venture to fully focus on this business. And we were working with like the State Department and other groups on programs and building out custom curriculum for other groups before. And so they wanted to have a clear separation. So since then we are in the middle of a $3 million round. I have been trying to get us to Series A level, but a few things are getting in our way. And, again, Jonathan's conversation a few months ago really helped me understand this better. But Series A is asking for $1 million in ARR. And they want to show all the SaaS model metrics, tight. The mistake, I don't want to call it a mistake, but the challenge that we had is over COVID, when our colleges went into hibernation, they needed us more than ever, but colleges went into hibernation. We launched into K-12. So we took $100,000 investment. We were part of the Chloe Capital Invest in Women tour. And we and one other company were like, or two other companies were the big winners there. So we got another $100,000 investment as a convertible note from ECMC Foundation. And they're very focused on, you know, making sure the connection between getting kids into college is there, that underserved communities transfer and have the pathways. So they've been a perfect fit, wonderful partner for us. The 3 million we're doing right now, I'm having to call, we're trying not to label the name of the round. That's some advice I've been getting. As I thought I was doing a 3 million Series A, people said, oh no, Series A is now 5 million. And people have pushed us to say, well, do you need 5 million and not 3 million? And frankly, we spent a lot of time modeling out what 3 million would look like for our business. And we've even modeled out what $1 million would look like for our business. And I don't want to go after 5 million right now. I don't need to do that. And I want to be responsible with the funding that we have. And I also don't want to be pressured to spend more money than we have to, because I've done, you know, I've been in that game before, and it doesn't necessarily serve people, but you have to grow at a rate that feels comfortable for you. So we're doing right now, we're doing convertible notes. I have 2 investors like at the final stage, looking at $1 million in investment between the 2 of them. And then I have a handful of other, you know, others that are asking for decks, asking for more information a little bit earlier. So I think I probably already know the people who will do the second million. Where the third comes from, I'm not sure right now. But we're going through that. I don't know if we'll go into a series. If I do the full 3 million right now, I don't know if I'll do a Series A at the end of the year, which I was hoping to do. I don't know if I'll need to be honest.
Okay. And do you have a rough idea what you would apply the investments towards?
Oh, for sure. No, not more than rough. We have all the documents. Everything's all figured out. The bulk of the spending is going into sales. I have a $2.8 million pipeline that we've built out. Weighted, it's 2.2 million. I've got more sales opportunities and active conversations, people interested in our product, than I have hours in the day to attend to their questions or do the follow-up, or, you know. So we're operating without a sales department right now, and we have since for a while. So that's been a huge problem for us. The other thing is we have some product development work that we want to do, including some data efficacy research. One of the pending investors is going to do an efficacy study for us. I can eyeball that we're between tier 1 and tier 2 efficacy, which is stellar, but I'm literally losing deals right now, big adoption deals, because we don't have third-party validation of our efficacy. So I'm talking to other, you know, I'm talking to a handful of teams, you know, who can come in, but again, it's a catch-22. Without capital, I can't hire them to do the third-party efficacy. So I'm running into a slew of challenges that we can only get a handful of people to do so much work, especially when we don't have the expertise in-house. And sometimes you just need third-party validation, and we have thousands and thousands of comments on our impact, but I don't have a clear way to share that. We're manually packaging that data right now for our schools. It's not in a beautiful dashboard. So schools need dashboards. We need to show them how we're aligning with competencies, how we're aligning with standards frameworks. We do, but that's all coming out verbally. It's not coming out in, yeah. So we're having capacity issues, but so to be tight, we need sales, we need product development, what else, and marketing. It's astounding how good our results are and how much impact we're making, and the case studies, but I literally don't have someone to sit and tweet about it every day, or to build a blog and put the case studies up. I need to start putting our teachers all in a room together and doing professional development together with them and build communities of learning. I also used to be a major thought leader in youth employment. I was in front of hundreds of millions of people. I've spoken on the floor of the United Nations multiple times. I can't do the thought leadership that I'm great at because I'm too busy operating the business. So these are things that will make a big difference. The other thing that we need to do over the next year is prove the efficacy of our K-12 product. Make sure that what we've built is scalable and get those metrics, really clean for K-12. And then also we want to start hitting districts. We haven't touched districts yet. And we have 3 school districts asking us to pitch them right now because they want what we have. And we don't have that pitch down yet. I mean, in all candor. So the minute we can have some really solid educators working with us and really connecting the dots between what that product is and what we're offering to those districts and making sure that we know that we're priced properly for them, that we have all the procurement, detail that they need, the efficacy research, we'll start going quickly in districts, I think. So I'm planning on 2023 as being our national rollout.
Okay. So you seem to have, EYP has a lot of the raw ingredients for success. It just needs to have that structure.
We don't have the capacity. We don't have the
Right.
people or the capacity. And I built most of the company on contractors. So we've very strategically hired people for very narrow scopes of work to come in and pull us to the next level. But that's not a sustainable way to grow a business. And frankly, I need to have a team that's working together day in and day out and pull us through to that next place right now. So we've been kind of stuck at a certain level as a business for a little while, and that doesn't look good for investors. But if you look at what we're actually doing, we're constantly innovating, we're constantly growing. But those are the things that we need the bulk of the investment for.
Can I ask what your current team makeup looks like?
Yeah, we have we've had a core of 3 people. We had a 4th for a little while. It's me, CEO. David Stein is our co-founder. He's by trade a designer. He's a UI UX expert. He built the EYP product. It's really beautiful, and all the memes and everything that are everywhere. Like he's a visual designer, but he's now been in customer service. He manages our client success. He's so far out of his realm of comfort working with the schools. But he takes good care of them, and it's wonderful. He's also manages the tech product and manages our technology teams, which is again out of his scope as well of expertise. And then Cherie is our director of finance. She does all of our contracts and our accounting and bookkeeping and making sure that we get paid and we're submitting all the right paperwork. We brought in a COO from the Start Ed program. The Start Ed does Mentor Madness, and I met the head of M&A and strategy for Thomson Reuters, and he wound up joining us as our interim COO for 6 months. He helped us with a lot of the financial modeling that was necessary. I need a CFO person in the company desperately because the modeling is so critical to all the investors. And so that's that. But that's basically the bulk of us. And then we have contractors that deal with all the technology, that deal with the curriculum design, that deal with what else? The teacher training, I'm starting to bring people in to do that. I need more client service and product management, project management people, because we're taking on big clients that want more attention than we can even give them right now. So you can see where as a small little team of people,
Right.
It's insane we don't have a full-time client service manager.
I'm surprised just because you mentioned LAUSD, which is the 2nd largest district in the US.
Yeah.
So a team of just you guys is, well, it's impressive, first of all, that you're able to pull it off.
The only reason I can
lot.
pull it off is because I'm on speed dial with the team, and they call me on Fridays, on Sundays, on everything, and I show up wherever they need me. But I'm the CEO. I don't have so much capacity for this. So now we've got Green Dot also. Green Dot's one of our, that's crazy. So we got Green Dot and LAUSD as 2 of our first pilots. I thought LAUSD would take me a year, but they love us, and and the superintendent spoke at one of our events. So it's I think that's also the tricky part as you're talking about valuation with investors too. I'm trying to show that we're in a much more advanced place.
Right.
I mean, I could go into the HBCU networks. I could go into the SUNY network. I could go into Cal State network. I've spent 3 years building relationships with all of them, but I don't have the capacity to connect the dots and I'm losing deals because I can't even put the proposal together fast enough for some of these. I lost University of Phoenix that wanted to take our product. From an investor standpoint, that is a huge contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be really awesome. I went to HBCU.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Awesome. Where'd you go?
Claflin University is in South Carolina.
Very nice. Oh, that's awesome. So we're working with the business school deans of the HBCUs, and is a dean of all the business school deans, and they want to use us as a workforce readiness certification. So if all the students start to take us, then we could connect the dots with an organization like a Robert Half or a big giant recruiter, and then get students into unbelievable organizations.
Nice.
But yeah. So we serve a really nice, segment there, because as they do a workforce pipeline, if EYP can be a core piece of that, I not only ensure that the students know what's involved in working with employers and how business works, but then we also gather tons of data that's helpful to help build programs to meet the students where they are.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah.
So but you can see why, like, every month that I'm talking about the HBCUs and not activating it kills me, because these are tons of students graduating, uncertain about what they want to do. It's not okay. We're sitting on a solution right this minute to help young people get clarity. Texas A&M just told us 90% of their students know what the direction they want to take now because of our program. 90%.
Wow.
I need the efficacy study. I need marketing. I need to get that out to the world immediately. That should be in the Wall Street Journal. And we should be flying into schools right now.
You should be cloning yourself so you can multiply your efforts.
God. I want to figure out, I want to do one of the things I'd really love to do on the data side is I'd love to find an economist to build out the economic impact of EYP in the life of a student. Because we talk about enrollment and persistence, I want to show how changing their trajectory in the world changes their family, their community, their lifetime income, the families that, the nieces and nephews, the brothers and sisters who are in their environment all change.
Mm-hmm.
So the impact of what we're doing is so significant, but again, I'm playing this small right now.
Right. You need to find a way to measure it so that you can talk about it. Yeah. I guess kind of working off of that, I'm not sure if it was in the deck that you sent, but do you have an idea of your TAM, your total addressable market, given your current strategy?
Yeah, we've sliced and diced it so many different ways. The biggest number we came up with was 660 billion, which was all workforce training and development globally. But we've also segmented it across, career training in higher ed I struggle with the TAM question. I really do, because I've pulled so many numbers on so many segments. Mm-hmm. And again, people just want a quick answer and they want one. And do you want my UN hat on to give you the TAM? Do you want my working with global corporations hat on to talk about the TAM? Do you want me just to talk about K-12? This is where I'm constantly running into challenges.
Right. Given that your focus is also on the K through 12 now, that means that the TAM becomes much more complicated, more inclusive.
Just a basic question, like on your pitch deck, I saw that you charge $50 per student.
We actually charge on average $95 per student. Mm-hmm. I added into the deck for scalability to show if we charged 50%, and went to 2 million students, that's $100 million company right there. But that was a talking deck. So yeah, we charge on average $95 a student, but then we'll do licenses sometimes, or depending on volume, the average might go down to $60 a student, sometimes a little bit lower. In the K-12 space though, it's much higher. So in higher ed, we average $95. In K-12, we've been closing 6-figure deals with schools for a few hundred students.
Would you mind explaining your current strategy, like your current approach to sales and marketing? How do you find these customers? How have you found them? Do they reach out to you, or do you go out to events?
Yeah, so historically, pre-COVID, we started the company with the head of education sales for Bloomberg. He left Bloomberg to join us. We built the product with him basically. And he knew Bloomberg sold Business Week into the business schools. That's how we started with business schools. And I figured that was a pretty high bar to go. So if we could do that, we could, do other things. So we went in, we would host cocktail parties. We'd go to all the dean's conferences. I spoke at like the NACE conferences, which were the National Association of Colleges and Employers. I love that conference. So I would talk to the career center heads about how to help young people with their jobs. And they would tell me all their problems. And that was another layer of our research into this. We worked a lot with the accreditation boards for the colleges like AACSB and IACBE. And then as we went into K-12, we got, and I went to like the first year experience conferences too. But then as we got to K-12, then I went right into the communities that we knew and we had been friends with and building programs for forever. And because we went after CTE programs specifically, we targeted schools in California. We couldn't travel, we couldn't go anywhere, and California is a great system, obviously. So we went after Compton and Crenshaw and Watts and Culver City. And just, word of mouth, we went through our networks. But I'm a very big social capital person. I have a huge network of people. It's just, I'm running out of capacity. I don't have as much capacity as I'd like. But I've also been speaking on youth employment my whole life. So if I go to a conference, people come to me and ask me for our product. So if I can get ahead of it and get out there again and start talking about the problems in the school system and everything, people will come to us. So that's helpful. We also just hired a company called Engage Prospect that's helping us build a sales system and team. And as I get new funding, they will help hire and train the salespeople and create best practice models. Part of sales too is blasting them. You have to make sure you're hitting them at the right time when they're willing to talk to you about curriculum. You have to make sure that, they have plenty of months to talk and to share with everyone. It's a lot of work, sales, a lot of work. And on higher ed, it takes us on average 1 to 3 years to close a deal. On K-12, it can go as fast as 4 to 6 weeks.
So given your strengths and your background, you would probably be best suited to continuing your role as a thought leader, going out to these conferences, making the connections, but you would want some kind of an organizational structure at your company to take in all the prospects that you've built and developed.
Yeah, I'm great at business development. I open doors everywhere I go. I can get people excited about this everywhere I go, but I can't manage that sales process too much further down the pike. So I can hand the HBCU opportunity to my team and work with them on it. But the day-to-day logistics of going back and forth and the proposals and the documents and all that, and all the stakeholders and setting up the meetings and the appointments, I sometimes spend like 20% of my time just booking meetings. I mean, that's how ridiculous.
Which is inefficient use of your time.
Completely inefficient. So I wouldn't say, some people will say, oh, you should just work on thought leadership. I don't want to only do thought leadership. I'm critical to understanding what the students need. I want to do speaking. I want to work with these schools on strategy, on CTE strategy. I want to work on the design of how we flow the content, because I've worked with tens of thousands of students. So I think my experience is helpful, but I don't want to be the one building the documents, building the work plans, managing the teams. Like there's a level of depth of work that needs to be done that I'm getting lost in constantly.
Have you
And-
had interns that will help with like the sales side or recruitment or anything like that, just to help in terms
You know,
of?
we haven't done a lot of interns lately just because it takes a lot of time to manage interns and to get them up to speed, and they're only there for a little bit of period of time. I'm not saying we're not open, but again, it goes back to three of us trying to, you know, make the time to do that. So it's sometimes it's better for me to hire a contractor for a short period of time where they come in and out, they give you the deal, they give you the contract, they give you the work plan, they give you the scope, it's all done. The dynamic with interns is they're learning, you're learning, you know, you're kind of figuring things out. I tend to be a big mentor, so I'll like spend a lot of time. It's great, but it's theoretically a great answer, but it proves to be more challenging. Not saying we're not going to do it, but I feel like I need more people even to manage the interns.
Your next hire should absolutely be a COO, somebody who can set up the operation side so that it's efficient, right?
Desperately.
And if that person is as good, then they can also set up the internship program as well, and you know the benefits continue to accrue that way.
Yes, you're 1000% right. Operations is essential beyond words. I have a pending president who could be a great COO who comes from the education space. But you know, operations and a finance, those are the two top hires next to sales.
Okay. I think that's all the questions we had for the business. Is there anything else that somebody wanted to ask or throw in there?
Speaking of competitive landscape, what is the unique selling point of your company and how your company differentiate from other?
Great question. Right now, the workforce readiness landscape is flooded with new companies. There's been tons of money invested. We've had pretty intensive competitive analysis studies done independently to help us understand how we fit in higher ed and K-12. What we're finding is that we have the most comprehensive curriculum. Our content is the highest quality. It is the most relevant to the students. It's the most engaging to the students. And our outcome, I'm pretty sure our outcomes are beyond anything that anyone's ever seen, because no one's ever seen the student impact data that we have. And also, I think the ROI on education is a big thing that we're not talking about. But as far as competitive landscape goes, you know, we run into on higher ed most, but not very much lately, Pearson. On the K-12 side, Naviance is very, very prolific in K-12. And those are big enterprise purchases. But if you talk to parents, talk to kids, talk to even teachers, they hate the product often. But in the early days before we could talk more about what we did, that was often a conversation like, oh, we already have Naviance, we don't need this. But yeah, so competitive landscape, we're finding that our curriculum, the content is probably the most unique selling point. The efficacy of that content, the quality of that content, and that it's plug and play and scalable. But it's tough. You know, this is a great time to go into ed tech. Lots of opportunity, but it's also really hard to defend your space in it and cut above the noise.
I'm not sure if this will be any consolation to you, but I think that you do have, there's a lot of challenges, but I think you have good challenges. It's a good situation to be in. A lot of people want your product. And if the problem is that you can't get it out to them quick enough, I think that's a much better problem than them not wanting your product at all. So
yeah, I agree with you.
Very solid foundations to build something out of.
Thank you. I really appreciate hearing that. Thank you. Yeah, and we do have to actively build our team. So by all means, you know, I hope, you know, please do stay in touch with us if you guys see any opportunities. we're always looking for smart ideas and smart people to help us grow. And you're totally right. Is your first name Kim or Iron Kim?
First name is Iron. Yeah.
Oh, that is your name. Awesome. I love
It
it.
is. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Iron.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some great points. And I mean, we need to bring in some strong, innovative thinkers to help us, be thought leaders in this space right now. I mean, I'm aware of how bold the comment redefining career readiness being gold standard is. I'm aware of it. And if I hadn't had the history that I've had and talked with the education leaders, the government leaders, the corporate leaders that I have, I would still be hesitant about it. But eventually I just had to stand up and say, no, I know we know this better.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we do this better. So.
Okay. Well, sorry, I was gonna say one more thing, but I can't remember.
Maybe you mentioned this, but what is your background? Like, what made you decide this is what you want to do?
Yeah, great. When I started my first business at 13, I was struggling to fit in and realized that you could be an entrepreneur and do things. And I became a student leader. I became president of my school, and I was always building like gift baskets and, t-shirt businesses and doing all sorts of things. And I did video college tours as one business. And then at 19, I created the first online network for young entrepreneurs on CompuServe. And I'm getting old now, but in 1993, when the internet was just forming, we were on CompuServe with an online network with young people from 75 countries. And I had a bulletin board on 94, which, just a bulletin board service thing. I had 10,000 people on a bulletin board. And then we built out YSN, Your Success Now, as the first professional social network for young people in the early 2000s. And that we grew that to 25,000 young leaders in 160 countries. Mm-hmm. And one of my big advisors, who was like head of marketing for Pepsi or something, he said to me, you've always been on the bleeding edge. You're finally on the cutting edge. I've always been like too early for the market. And then all these people come in and capitalize on it. And like Y Combinator goes and everyone gets trained on how to do things. And then all of a sudden I'm no one. But we've built some of the biggest global research. We did the Subway Global Challenge, which had, it was the first 50 country. No, it was the first study, 100 countries worth of young people engaged in a business simulation game in 6 weeks. That was the first time anyone had ever done a global competition like that. Then we built the Next Generation and Franchising Initiative for the International Franchise Association. And I was keynoting conferences for Starwood and Walmart and talking to them about recruiting, retaining young people, young talent. I kicked out a few books. The last was a New York Times bestseller called Secrets of the Young and Successful. That landed on number 3 on Amazon. And then when we were running YSN, we were almost purchased by AOL, Bertelsmann, and Hearst. And then the market crashed. And then I lost my business and my husband and my staff and everything, and had to start over again. And somehow we made our way to this. But I've spent my whole life working on youth employment, youth leadership, youth training, youth success. And so it's been hard to go into the education space because everyone's so focused on labels and silos and levels. And that's really been one of the most complicated things. Put me in front of kids from anywhere in the world. Put me in front of parents from anywhere in the world. Teachers, I can talk their language, but having to fit to serve the education market has been probably the biggest challenge for me.
Wow. Thank you for that. That was amazing.
Yeah, I give you one just quick little, I know we probably have to go, but a couple, I'm dying to work globally, and I've been really trying to be disciplined and not do it right now. But I went to Nigeria before COVID, and the Minister of Education threw me in front of 600 kids in 7th grade and said, talk. what do I say? And I sat there thinking, what am I going to tell these kids about work that no one's going to tell them that's going to change their life? And I thought about it for a minute, and often I have to speak and come up with what I'm going to say in 30 seconds. And so I sat there and I said, you know what? I'm going to tell you one thing, the difference between talent and labor. And I said, labor is how you get paid for doing what you physically do. You see the women walking with the big baskets and the people putting the big carts with all this stuff. Like most of our families are getting paid by labor. Being talent means you're paid for what you think, what you know, what you've experienced. And the only way you can get paid as talent is by staying in school and being educated. And I said, do you understand that? And they all nodded yes. And I said, education gets you paid as talent, not education gets you paid as labor. And they're very different. And they got it. And I thought, that's, if I teach nothing else in this country, that's what I want to leave them with. So they think about that.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If I heard that as a teen, I was like, okay, yeah, you're right.
But so imagine, Sasha, if I had a marketing person sitting in our company right now, and I could walk into their office and say, go put a post out on this right now. Let's go blast this out across. Think about, there's so many little bits of information that we share in EYP, but should be, dissected and thrown out into the world. Because little comments like that change everything.
That's true.
So, and that's where inequity is. It's not access to opportunity. Opportunity is everywhere. It's access to understanding how to get it, how to align yourself with it, how to educate yourself properly for it. It's not a lack of opportunity. So.
Could I also recommend, I think you are going to be the kind of like the beating heart and face of this organization, as you should be. When you bring in a COO or CFO, my only recommendation would be somebody who is different from you, but complementary, at least in values, but ruthless about making money.
Yes.
So I'm sure you guys might have a little bit of, you'll clash here and there, of course. But I just find it difficult for one person to have that all inside of themselves. So somebody who does spend a lot of time thinking about the social mission, while also at the same time focusing on making a lot of money. Yeah. I don't think it can really be done by one person. It's going to create a lot of internal conflict, cognitive dissonance. But having another person, like you mentioned, the COO or CFO, who aligns with your values, but is just like, I'm going to find ways to make tons of money.
I love it. I love it. What are you doing, Iron? Come on.
I wish I had more of a finance background. But absolutely, yeah. Would love, I think all of us here, if you're open to it, we'd love to follow up with you after this. Any thoughts and questions?
I would love that. I would love that. Really.
Be great.
I appreciate the questions you're asking and, the reflections that you've had on the business. And we need smart people to get to the next level. We definitely do. And, there's only so much a little team can do. And also the same people working for years and years and years, you get groupthink after a while. But I'm inspired. I continue to know that this work changes lives every single day. And so that's the only reason we stay on course and we struggle through what we have to struggle through to get there. But it's an important time. It's a good time. There's tons of money in the field right now. I mean, I'm at the EdTech conference right now. I'm literally meeting with someone next week who has $100 million in their fund.
Mm-hmm. Just before I forget, did you have to change the business model because of the pandemic, or is it still relatively the same?
Well, it's still the same. We've been a little more weary about calling it SaaS model just now because it's not just plug and play like we're doing wraparounds with K-12. K-12 did change in the sense that we do a lot more service with the product than we had before. but we realized that because of our experience, we were able to come in and transform their systems fast, but it takes more one-on-one time. It takes talking to their teachers. And so we've been able to get compensated for that, but it's not the rapid adoption integration that it needs to be that scalable model. And we know it, we see it, it's right in front of us. But that needs to be worked on quickly right now. Because I've got one district deal in North Carolina that could be a $2 million deal for us. That changes everything for the business. But I have to figure out how to take our brand new K-12 product and give it to 50 schools. That's literally the thing that's keeping me up at night right this minute. If I can do, yeah.
Do you have to customize for each one, or?
No, not for each one, not at all. We just need to look at the laundry list of things we've been doing and the product and see how we can match it. We're doing a lot of work on it, but we're just not there yet. But the minute I can close those districts, that's that's 10 times our revenue.
Gotcha.
And I have so much of that in our numbers. And I have to explain that to investors too. We're only modeling for what we know. I can't model for the HBCU deal. I can't model for the Cal State deal. So they're not even showing up in our projections.
So this is where that COO or CFO comes in, because this is typically where entrepreneurs just lie. And they make up numbers and projections, right? And
we're not doing that.
It's part of the whole horse and pony show. And I think investors know that it's, fudging the numbers, but yeah, having a partner who is okay with that would be.
Yeah, I mean, but I think you can be honest about it too, but it's the unknowns we don't know how to model for. And I want to be very transparent with our investors and say our $2.8 million pipeline are conversations I've been having for months with these schools. I know exactly who they are. I know exactly how they can grow, but I'm not giving you 20 others that I haven't met yet, even though that's a very rational thing to be projecting for. Because 20 others will show up in the next year, but I'm not even modeling for that. But you're right. That's why I need a CFO, a revenue officer, someone to be going after that and modeling for that. And that would be much more exciting even for investors.
I'm not saying I necessarily agree with their tactics. It's just I've worked with some very good marketers, and they blur that line between lies and projections really well. It's almost like it's a special skill. So
it's true. And it's always a tricky balance.
Yeah.
If they want to see growth and you're having the conversations, but you can't ask them how much you're going to spend in the next 2 years. They don't know. They're still working with you. So it's a fine line to walk. And we've always veered on more conservative because I don't want to create that pressure for our team. And I also want to have that transparency with our investors, but it has held us back too, because we haven't been more bold with our projections.
Gotcha.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. I don't know. Why did you guys tell Jonathan?
How'd you guys do? Did you get what you needed?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. We
All
have.
right. Good. I heard little snippets. It sounds like company's doing well. We should follow up.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, we got our first million soft circled, our first $1 million soft circled. We have another, I think I can get the second million with the people we're talking to right now.
Of funding, this is.
Yeah. This is, we haven't hit Series A yet because the metric is like, I expanded the business, can't get the metrics in K-12 just yet. And the million ARR has been elusive for us, especially over COVID. But we've got so much, like the pipeline's exploding and I can't service it fast enough.
Awesome. That's a good problem to have. So we have to regroup. If these guys have additional questions, can they reach out to you?
Of course, absolutely. I'll put my email in the chat. So you have it. Opens up.
And to Jonathan, are we now all shifting back to the main?
Yeah, we're going to just close up in the regular class Zoom.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Thank
and if you have
you.
any questions, shoot them off to me and get in touch, you know, even just to talk or spend more time.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jonathan.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Bye. It was so nice meeting you all.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.